everybody. Welcome to the Coastside Fire Protection District Board of Directors regular board meeting, October 27th, 2021. Roll call, please, Jean.
President Burke,
Here.
Vice President Cockrell,
Here.
Director McKimmey,
Here.
Director Stockman, I understand is not here due to a plane delay.
Correct.
Director Cheryl,
Here.
Deputy Chief Secretary Jonathan Cox,
Here.
Cal Fire Chief Ian Larkin,
Here.
and Attorney Kai Reese.
Here.
And also online tonight, we have my replacement, Melissa Cardinale. May you all welcome her.
Welcome.
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 Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, and myself, Gene Headley.
I see we have that short timer Ian Larkin on with us tonight.
Yeah. You
Yes,
and me both, Ian.
Yes,
You and me
President.
both,
Burke.
Ian.
Yeah, I would just like to take a moment to introduce my replacement, who has been named Nate Armstrong, who is currently the deputy chief in the Santa Cruz division of Cal Fire. He will be replacing us. So Nate Armstrong is going to be your new fire chief effective the 5th of November.
Welcome.
Welcome, Nate.
Welcome. I'm not sure if Nate, is Nate on, Ian?
Yes,
Yeah.
he is. Yes.
Nate, I'm not sure this is gonna work out with Nate. He looks far too young.
Yeah. No, Nate do a great job for you.
Nate, a warm welcome from the Coastside Fire Protection District. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, President Burke.
With that,
Welcome.
please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any of the members of the public who would like to make comments at this time? I can't see the whole of it. Do we have? Oh,
Yes.
wait a minute.
Oh, should I raise my hand?
Yes,
What's the
please.
proper way to do it?
Go ahead, Gina.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Hi, my name is Sheena Sidhu. I'm with the San Mateo Resource Conservation District. So I wanted to introduce myself to everybody. As a quick overview for the what the San Mateo Resource Conservation District is, the RCD. We're a special district located in San Mateo County. Most of our district is on the coast, although we do work outside of our district as well on the bay side of the county as well. We do several programs in the areas of wildlife enhancement, water quality, water for farms, fish, and people, climate, agriculture, and then also forest health and fire resiliency. And so I'm the program manager for that program. And so we're doing several projects in my program throughout the county, which includes 540 acres of forest health treatments, including 100 acres that we're doing. We're helping with a shaded field break in Quarry Park in partnership with the county parks. And we also do the neighborhood chipping program. And so that's in partnership with the Fire Safe Council with support from Chief Cox and also Deputy Fire Marshal Austin Seeley as well. They've been a great support in that program, and we'll be continuing that again next year. And we're also doing an El Granado wildfire resiliency scoping project that's being done with the community. And I'd like to engage with all you folks and the district to participate in that to make sure that all stakeholders are being heard in what this wildfire resiliency concerns are from the community. So this is just me introducing myself. I'm hoping that we can do more engagement. And it's nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Okay. Sheena, thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public would like to speak? Or hearing none, I will then make a motion to approve the consent calendar with a note that Director McKimmey has recused himself.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Roll call, please, Jean.
President Burke,
Yes.
Vice President Cockrell,
Yes.
Director Cheryl.
Yes.
So it passes 3-0-1 by roll call. Is that right?
Thank you.
Yes.
Bruce, do you have a question?
Yeah, on the consent calendar that I did not recuse myself, I did recuse myself, but I have two questions on checks,
Go.
Jonathan. Cosard County Water Services, Station 41, 1,355. That's a very large amount from all the other stations. What are they doing down there?
I can definitely find out which station that was for and the reason for it for you.
Okay, it's 41.
Yep.
And I had a question on, where'd you go? Give me a sec.
Well, hey, Bruce,
Yes, sir.
how about if you send him, Chief Cox an email asking for an update and a question on it? And if you have any real concerns, bring it back to the board.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving
Thank you.
on, item 6 to continuing business. Update to fee ordinance, Chief Cox.
I will hand this one over to Kai for an update.
Thank you, Chief Cox. This is pretty straightforward. I believe this is your second reading on this, so you should have seen this last
Yes.
meeting. This is just to add the service charge associated with credit card transactions to the district's fee schedule so that you can recover those costs.
I will open a public hearing to see if there's any member of the public who'd like to speak on this subject. Hearing none, I close the public meeting and I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2021-01. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Gene.
I'm sorry. Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Vice President Cockrell,
Yes.
and President Burke.
Yes.
Passes
Thank
4-0
you.
by roll call. Thank you.
Moving on to item B, consider and approve a resolution authorizing the fire chief to undertake the removal of weeds and abatement of public nuisances following a public hearing on objections and protests. Chief Cox.
Thank you, President Burke. This is in follow-up to last month's Vegetation Management Committee expanding the weed abatement program within the district. This is that special one-time vegetation management we're going to be undertaking on 15 parcels. I just want to orally note that this goes beyond seasonal weeds. This actually goes to hazardous vegetation that is deemed hazardous by the district. I don't want the public to get hung up on the term seasonal weeds because the actual ordinance does scope it to include hazardous vegetation. This ordinance is really just authorizing the fire chief to be able to take action in the abatement process should the landowner fail to do so by the date that the fire marshal's office give them.
Thank you. That's good addition, clarification. I'll open a public hearing on this item. Is there any member of the public like to speak? Hearing none, I close the public meeting and I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2021-51. A resolution of the Board of Directors, Fire Protection District authorizing the fire chief to undertake the removal of weeds and abatement of public nuisances.
President-
Yes. Go ahead. Okay.
President Burke, I have a question.
Yes.
Is it going to be a one-time thing, or am I misunderstanding, or is it going to be reevaluated the following year for another 15 parcels, or is that the size of how much the fire district or whatever they're going to break it down into as far as?
Yeah. Excuse me. Who's speaking?
This is Grayson Bourbano.
Okay. Chief Cox, can you answer that question, please?
Yeah, so we do it by tax roll year. So this vegetation abatement will go on next year's tax roll. And then 2023, there's a high likelihood that these lots will be included on the annual vegetation management for mowing. So it'll happen once now, and then probably 18 months from now be included in the annual.
So was there going to be other lots that were going to be included in successive years, or was this
That's
Just
correct.
don't,
That's
okay.
correct. There's a vegetation management plan that looks at expanding this over the next 3 years. Year 1 being 15 lots, year 2 being about 30 lots.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Moving on to item C, weed abatement, authorize to advertise for weed abatement, Chief Cox.
Through the chair, we didn't have a vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's back up to, did we have a second on resolution 221?
I second it, yes.
Okay, roll call. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Vice President Cox,
Yeah.
President Cox,
Yes,
President Burke.
Yes,
Passes
Okay.
4-0 by roll call. Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to weed abatement, authorized to advertise the weed abatement contract bids, Chief Cox.
Thanks, President Burke. This is authorizing the fire chief to actually find a contractor to perform the work. This work will be beyond just the mowing. This will go on to limbing, chipping, and clearing of brush. So this is really just a authorization to notice for an invitation to bid.
Thank you. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 221-53.
second,
And there, I point out that in our packet and as a public document, there is the response from the request for proposals from, I think, 3 contractors. Is that Chief? Oh, no, this is just to award an architectural engineering services. Okay, I'll back up. I make a resolution to adopt 221-53. JB?
I'm trying to figure out where you are because I'm not.
Well, I'm on item C. It's to advertise for contractors for weed abatement.
Oh, okay,
misspoke.
okay.
I misspoke. Okay,
All right, yeah.
all right.
Second,
So we've got a motion and a second. Any further comment? Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Vice President Cox,
yes,
and President Burke.
Yes.
Passes 4-0 by roll call.
Now, before I put my glasses on, but I'm on item D, I believe. And that is review, discuss, and approve an agreement for on-call architectural and engineering services, Chief Cox.
Thank you. This is the result of the notice, the RFP that we put out for on-call architectural and engineering services. We anticipate at least 2 upcoming projects that we're going to need services of architectural and engineering. Probably the biggest being any sort of feasibility program study we do for our new Fire Station 44. We needed a service on call to be able to perform that work. In addition to that, we will likely need to engineer the header on the second apparatus bay at 44 for the new engine arrival to match the right-hand side apparatus bay door. Instead of bidding those out one by one, we decided to go for an on-call service so that we could not have to run through that process every time. This was one of 3 bidders that came out, and you'll see all the bidders that were in the packet based on the criteria we put forward. The SVA architects were the top choice.
I will make a motion to adopt resolution 2021-53 for on-call architectural and engineering services to CVA Architects, Inc. and authorizing the execution of agreement for professional services. Do I have a second?
second,
I just have a question, Chief. They're on call and we don't know exactly perhaps what project we might assign to them, but on each project, they will give us a separate price as to what that cost will be. And we have a chance, we have a chance to see what that is.
That's right. Yeah, a scoping document for each project that we undertake.
Okay. Bruce?
That's SVA, correct?
Correct.
SVA, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Roll call, please. Jane?
Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Vice President Cox,
Yes,
And President Burke?
Yes.
Passes 4-0 by roll call.
Moving on to new business, item 7.
I seem to be having a problem with my ears. I'm not sure I'm understanding everything correctly. I keep answering because I'm guessing that I look a lot like Chief Cox. And so I'm very happy answering for him.
JB,
Sorry.
your wife's been saying that for years.
Right. So Chief Cox, you just got, someone thinks you're better looking now.
My bad, I'm sorry.
Okay, moving on to item 7, new business. Review and discuss proposal for updated CAL FIRE fiscal sheets to increase staffing levels within the Coastside Fire Protection District Cooperative Fire Protection Contract. Chief Cox.
Thank you, President Burke. This document really is an evaluation based on what our current situation is regarding staffing, both operationally and most specifically in our prevention office here in the district. A couple things to note is the firefighters that are currently assigned to the unit and to the programs obviously are working extremely hard year-round right now. And we've had obviously a lot of firefighters who've worked long days. One of the big kind of initiatives that we're trying to focus on is balancing our staffing between both our cooperative contract at San Mateo County Fire Department as well as our cooperative contract with COSIDE. What we don't want is any kind of disparity where one agency is subsidizing another agency for fire protection purposes. So looking at both programs, what we're really presenting and bringing forward is a way to equalize the programs that actually fulfills the task and the needs that are there across both the district and the county. For the district, specifically what we laid forward was the position by position outline of what that looks like to have parity between the two programs. It should be noted that right now, the deputy chief and the division chief of operations are split funded between the two programs. And then we have a couple other split funded positions, one being a field operations battalion chief to cover those open days, and the second being the fire marshal. So we do have quite a few force positions in the two programs. Our findings specifically are adding one engineer to operations. That would be added to the relief shift at overtime cost and provide that relief of forcing firefighters on duty. It would be adding a deputy fire marshal to the fire marshal's office. And I think that is really based on the fact that we are seeing a record number of plans come in for review and inspections, as well as the initiative we're undertaking for the weed abatement program. And then the final two are 50-50 positions. Right now, the district does not have a paramedic coordinator or supervisor. They're using the services of San Mateo County Fire Department. That individual is fully funded by County Fire, as well as fully funding the division chief of operations based on all the programs and commitments that we have. Those are our recommendations. We put together a fiscal sheet for analysis by the board and consideration. Obviously, CAL FIRE is a kind of a buffet style agency. You get to choose the services and the positions you want or don't want. This is what our current recommendation is. I just wanted to bring it in front of the board.
Let me, thank you, Chief. Let me make a couple of comments, and I'll preface this by saying after a couple of comments, I'm going to make an amendment to the resolution that's in our packet. And it is not in any way out of any disagreement or in terms of the need or anything like that, but it's, among other things, I'm a little bit uneasy about the lumping all, which basically is 4 items into this packet. And let me just kind of very briefly go through each of those, and then I'll get to my point here in a moment. In terms of increasing one full apparatus engineer, certainly that's appropriate. I assume our call volume and the need to ensure that the firefighters are not overworked and all that type of thing We did add one full-time equivalent, or actually 3 firefighters, I think about 3 years ago. And after a 6-month trial, it was canceled, and it had to do at that time, it might have been maybe Bruce remembers the, but at any rate, it had to do with the cost as well as the workload that was or was not available. But at any rate, the board voted to cancel after some 6 months to do that. It was interesting at that point in time that at least, and I don't remember how many, but at least some of the firefighters made the point that they welcomed some additional overtime. But I'm sure that's not true across the board for all of them. And certainly we recognize the additional stress that the firefighters have gone through all of that. And I would certainly support this particular item, and I'll get back to the others in a moment. And I would just ask that I would, Chief Cox, that when it comes around in next June for our new budget, that we just take a look at, what we've done with the additional people, because I'm not sure when you'll be able to add the additional full-time. I assume it'll take some period of time to identify them, get them on board. But once that's done, I would like to just, after a reasonable period of time, review them. The fire marshal office, I'm not privy to know any of the details, but I certainly see what's going on around and so forth. And there's certainly a need for additional people in that. However, I would like to, for my own edification, is to just get a better understanding who reports to who, what the workload is, who they do it, and so forth. And I'll clarify that point in just a moment. The full-time division chief, we went to a deputy chief and a division chief after considerable discussion, I might add, at the recommendation of Chief Larkin, as a way to improve operations and efficiency to do that. Fulfilling the division chief has probably been no more than maybe 5 months at the most. And within that short period of time to say that, we want to go back to a full-time individual in that position, which I'm sure is going to be described as a fire chief for the Coast-Side Fire District. I think I'm unhappy, or uneasy, I should say, not unhappy. That's way of a statement. I just really would like to understand it. If that is going to mean that there's going to be another step between the Coast-Side Fire Protection Board and the unit chief, then that does concern me. That is another step in the management chain that I would like to avoid if possible. Now, I am in no way saying or suggesting that I would oppose it, but I would like to understand it, to have the board spend a little bit more time as to the ramifications on that. And the fourth item, in terms of the training chief and the paramedic, it's interesting to reflect back. It's some years ago now, for reasons I probably don't remember, it goes back to Ferrer, or that the training chief was assigned at Cal Fire's direction to the county, and that the training officer would spend time here and would be, I guess, we provide a vehicle and some other things. But now we're going to do an opposite what was recommended to us at some point in the past. And my concerns on those items are basically if we implement all of these items, we're talking off the top of my head, probably $1 million+ on our budget. We have the money. It is well under Cal Fire's contract amount, but it is a changing a contract 1 year into it to do that. And I mentioned before that if it's a new level of management between us and the unit chief, I am concerned. It is undoing a plan that was recommended to us by Cal Fire, that is the division chief and deputy chief, not 6 months ago, to do that type of thing. And frankly, we've had no input from Nate Armstrong, our new unit chief, to do all of these things. And I think that we need to have, the board, for just our education, if nothing else, and knowledge of what's going on, just to have a little bit more time on these items. And with that very probably brief and confusing suggestion, I'd like to make the following motion to do this. And I'd like to amend resolution number 2021-55, the CalFire contract to approve the full-time apparatus engineer, the firefighter portion of the recommendation in the resolution. And the second sentence is to agendize the other three changes that are recommended at the fire marshal office, the training office, and the division office separately in the near future, with the fire marshal's office given priority, like next month. So I'd like to take them up one at a time, approve the additional fire apparatus engineer position this evening, and then bring the others back, hopefully, if we have a little bit more time to discuss it, perhaps get some input from the new unit chief as to what may or may not be appropriate. I would emphasize I am not opposed to it. In fact, I appreciate the thoughts going into what we need to perform effectively. With that, that is my motion. Do I have a second? And then we'll discuss
So
it.
I'll second it. I want to make sure I understand it.
Yes,
So you are basically in favor of right now approving, you've amended it. And I get.
well, I'm amending the resolution and
It's whether it's an amendment or a substitute, but that's neither here nor there. So you want 1/3 of what's being requested here
1/4.
now, and then a further discussion over the rest of it. And your reasons, as I understand them, are the way we're looking at this, we could have the board, well, we could be removed by two layers from the unit chief. Is that my understanding? If this
Well,
is,
that's one of my concerns of it, but there's some others. I just think that to answer your question, this has some financial implications. It is a change to the contract, and I think the board should really be knowledgeable about those changes. And this is redundant to say this, but I am not suggesting that I oppose them at this point. I just want to be able to understand them better.
and just one observation was back when we had the additional staffing, the reason we had that staffing was to staff the rescue ambulance. And what we found out was back after we did it, it took a number of positions to do it, was that all we were doing was essentially giving money to the AMR, which was our contractor at the time, and I think still is. And so when we became aware that that's what was going on, we said, well, this is insanity. All we're doing is taking COSI tax money and subsidizing AMR. It just allowed them to not leave a full-time ambulance out here like the current agreement calls for them to do. And so those, as I recall, when we decided not to have those additional staff people, nobody got laid off. They were all absorbed through attrition and transfers. So if that coincides with your recollection, that's
Yes.
the way I remember it.
Yeah.
And so that, based on that, getting back to the one apparatus engineer, as I think everyone knows, I've been very outspoken in my desire to see additional on-duty staff members. We're not there yet. This does not propose additional on-duty staff. And I would like to see it at some point. I may submit a resolution to add at least one additional on-duty apparatus engineer, but that's for another discussion. So based on your amendment or amended resolution, the resolution as amended, I can vote for the amendment.
I'm sorry, President Burke, let me just make sure that I didn't miss this. Did you already call for the public comment on this item?
Did not, but there is an opportunity for the public to speak if they would like.
Okay.
Hearing none. Moving on, Bruce.
Yeah, so let me get this straight. And so your amendment states that next month we will look at the fire marshal's position.
Yes, because I think that in the line of priority, that would probably be the next important item. Yes, that would be my thought. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Cynthia,
I understand your concerns, President Burke, but I do hope that we really take the time to understand the workloads that are involved in these positions that are being requested and how they rebalance the positions for the coast side. It's been a very challenging year, and of course the coast side and CAL FIRE have stood up and done a fantastic job. But as I read over Chief Cox's brief on this, the things that he said about the additional requirements we have placed on our staff resonated. I see it up close all the time. So I hope that we really do give these issues careful consideration. I understand if there's a reporting change that is of concern. I understand, of course, always the financial aspects of this are of concern, but Chief Cox, I found your brief to be very well reasoned.
sure, agreed. Yeah, this is these items and the recommendations from Chief Cox are well received. They are a mixture, at least to me, of policy questions, namely financial as well as governance, as well as just operational, clearly operational needs to do it. And I just want to make sure from our point of view, maybe it's my point of view, that I really understand going forward that we're not just signing something off and not really knowing the consequences of it. That's it.
Absolutely.
Other questions, comments?
One more question. I'm looking at this little box here. It says the 17750 contract. Current contract shows that the 227, 62,218,000. Updated fiscal sheet 61,462,000, or it's 463,000, give or take. My question is that a mistake? If you updated three positions, it would cost us less. Am I reading that correctly?
I think that perhaps at some time in the outlying years, there's some kind of perhaps a benefit decrease or something like that, but I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it's relatively minor. Just remind the board that the CAL FIRE contract is based on a top step for the CAL FIRE employees, and which typically means that we come in under in fact, always come in under because not all the employees are at the top step. So we would come in under, but the addition of the people and people and the positions that are recommended, I just took a guess of something over $1 million, but again, I don't want to get into down into the dust on this particular
Well, I understand that, but it just I understand that, but as presented, looking at the numbers here now, I understand that these are not hard numbers. We won't know until the end of the year exactly where we stand versus your top step versus less than top step. But based on the presentation I'm seeing, it's actually the updated fiscal sheets actually are proposed are less expensive than the existing fiscal sheets. It's just an observation, but I understand everyone's desire to get more information on this.
Chief Cox.
Yeah, I just wanted to paint some color onto that. The rate that the original 7-year contract for the district that we priced was at a staff benefit rate that came down significantly last year.
Oh, okay.
Down to about 64%. It's gone up about 72%. So that's why you're seeing the actual overall contract cost look less with the new positions, even though there's the addition of positions.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Second thing I just want to note on this is, we are, because we have both cooperative contracts in the county, I will take whatever information or whatever motions are decided upon tonight back to the county so that they can help inform their decision as well because of the cost sharing of all these positions that there are.
That's fair. The motion is to adopt, the resolution is to amend the resolution 2021-55 to approve the FEA, am I got them backwards?
FAE.
Okay, position, and then to agendize changes to the Fire Marshal Office of Training and Divisions Office separately in the near future with the fire marshals given priority, namely next month. Any further comments?
So just to be sure, so I understand, the apparatus decision, the FAE decision we're going to make immediately, and we're going to defer the other two pieces till November.
Yes, well, to the future. Maybe we can do it all next month. This depends on what it is that we do, but we'll get more information and more detail on it. The other three items, that's correct.
3.
So, so JB, for sure, next month, we're going to look at the fire marshal's position.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah. And maybe it's appropriate that, we have the time and on the agenda to do all of it at once. That's all, but I would like that additional information. Anything further? Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Vice President Cockrell,
yes.
and President Burke.
Yes,
Passes 4-0 by roll call.
thank you. Moving on to item B, new business contract with Melissa Cardinal to act as board clerk responsible to prepare board meetings. Chief Cox.
Thank you, President Burke. This is directing staff to undertake a professional services contract with Melissa Cardinale. Is obviously known to the district and comes highly recommended. She would be taking over for board minutes behind Jean Heedley starting at our next meeting.
Very good. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2021-50.
Second,
Any comments? Roll call, please, Jean.
Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Vice President Cockrell,
yes.
and President Burke,
Yes.
and a yes from me too, but I don't vote.
Well, welcome, Melissa.
Yeah, welcome, Melissa.
And before we move on, I have an informal question. Ms. Cardinal, where do you live?
I live in Redwood City.
Cool, thank you.
Mhm.
I am amazed that we haven't had a question from Melissa regarding cookies.
I was going to ask, do you
That's
bake?
what I thought he was gonna ask.
I heard about the cookies, so.
Well,
Yeah, you gotta
welcome,
make
Melissa.
them. If I can't, you can, you gotta. Part of the contract.
We look forward to working with you. All right, moving on to item C, and a proclamation to Chief Larkin. And in your packet, I believe, if I can find this, is a well-deserved, and I'm going to go through this because I think it's worthy of note, a proclamation from the Coastside Fire Protection District to Chief Ian Larkin. And I'm going to read this, and hopefully the public will pay attention. I'll try to be as brief as possible. Whereas Ian Larkin was born and raised in Watson, California, now makes his home in Scotts Valley with his wife and 2 daughters. He has served with the Cal Verde Department of Forestry and Fire Protection for 30 years. Whereas Chief Larkin began his fire service in 1988 as a paid call firefighter with, I cannot pronounce that word. Help me, somebody. Help me. Ian.
Salsipudis.
Okay. Fire Protection District in Santa Cruz County and began his professional career as a firefighter with Cal Fire in San Mateo, Santa Cruz Unit CZU in July of 1990. Whereas in October 91, he accepted a permanent firefighter operator position with the Aromas Tri-County Fire Protection District. However, in July 93, Chief Larkin returned to Cal Fire in the San Benito Monterey Unit as a fire apparatus engineer through a cooperative fire protection agreement. with the Aromas Fire Protection District. During that time, he was assigned to the Aroma Station and the Peninsula Battalion at the Pebble Beach and Carmel Hill Fire Station. In November, he was promoted to a permanent CAL FIRE position, worked in the Monterey Emergency Command Center, and beginning in February 2000, returned to the Aromas in September. Whereas in December 2004, he returned home to Santa Cruz County as a fire captain, specialist training officer, training battalion, where he made significant contributions to the Santa Cruz County Fire Department, volunteer firefighter training, and development of the Ben Lomond Training Center. Whereas in February 2000, he was promoted to Battalion Chief Operation, responsible for Battalion 3 of CZU South Division, which covers stations from Saratoga Summit to Davenport. In January 2000, he promoted to Division Chief in the Unit Administration Office and quickly promoted again to Deputy Chief of Operations as CZU's Battalion 3 and 4 Training and Emergency Command Center, and serves as the interim CZU Unit Chief following the transfer of Chief Scott Jalbert in 2006. Whereas in addition to Chief Larkin's previously mentioned accomplishment, he is a registered fire instructor with the Office of State Fire Marshal in several fire service disciplines and is qualified as Operations Section Chief Type 1, Plan Section Chief Type 1, and Incident Commander Type 1 trainee. He has been a member of CAL FIRE Incident Command Incident Management Team since 2011, held the position of Rescue Unit Leader and Incident Command Type 1, Plan Section Chief Trainee on Incident Management Team 6, and currently serves as the Deputy Plan Section Chief on Incident Management in Team 2. Whereas Ian Larkin was promoted Unit Chief to the San Mateo Santa Cruz Unit, effective May 11, 2016, thereby becoming Fire Chief of the Coastside Fire Protection District. Whereas Chief Larkin has served the district with distinction during his tenure, which has included many accomplishments, including the construction of new Fire Station 41, and whereas Chief Larkin is held in highest regard by his colleagues, the Board of Directors, former board members, staff, and the community, all of whom wish to extend sincere appreciation for his outstanding performance on duty during his greatly valued 5-year tenure as Fire Chief of the Coastside Fire Protection District. Now, therefore, I, Gary Burke, President of the Coastside Fire Protection District Board of Directors, on behalf of the Coastside Fire Protection District Board, do hereby honor Ian Larkin on his exemplary service and commitment to the Coastside Fire Protection District, and offer sincere appreciation for his 5 years of service to the district as Fire Chief. Ian, thank you very much. Any board comments?
Thank you, Chief Larkin.
Thanks, Chief, and I'd like to see since it was a resolution, I'd like to show it as passed by acclamation.
Proclamation.
I didn't catch that.
I'd like to see it passed by acclamation.
I don't know, can we do that in this Zoom era?
A
We'll do it.
proclamation.
Technically,
It is, we have a unanimous vote is passed by acclamation. In
Yes.
addition, we'll have a roll call, please. That'll take care of it.
Director Cheryl.
Yes.
Director Cheryl. Okay.
Is that, what's the right answer here?
That was a close one.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Chief Larkin. Enthusiastically, yes.
And Director McKimmey,
Yes.
Vice President Cockrell,
Yes.
and President Burke.
Yes. Yeah, I just add, just from a personal point of view, Ian, you stepped into some hot spots when you joined us some 5 years ago. The local fire chief left rather suddenly, and you were thrust into a dual role in your new position almost immediately. You became kind of an expert in building fire stations halfway through the building of Station 41 to go into that thing, and then certainly the tragedy of the lightning fire all in that period of time really was really an accomplishment in the way you handled all of it. I remember with affections our meetings at Pete's Coffee Shop and discussing things that I knew very little about, but you were very generous in explaining all of it and did a great job. So very much thank you. Anything else on that item? Okay.
President Burke, if I just can take just a minute, I
Please.
just wanted to thank the board for
Please.
your support over the 5 years. It's been a true honor to serve as your fire chief. And I think, we did have some troubling times just with things with the building of 41, COVID, the fire. And I think, without the board's support, we wouldn't have the success that we have. I had a vision when I came in of trying to rebuild something that made more sense and allowed for a more cohesive operation and a better relationship with the district. And I think, I would be remiss not to point out that it's the people behind me that make this thing successful. I'm just the one that sits at the top and approves and gives direction and builds relationships and fosters those relationships. It's really the folks below me, Chief Cox, Chief Cosgrave, all of our line staff and the people that are serving the public that really make this relationship work for the community of the coast side, as well as all the communities that we serve. So without your support and continued support moving forward, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. And I just appreciate that over the time that I've served as your fire chief. And I know with Chief Armstrong coming in, I'm sure he'll feel that same support really quickly and continue to build and foster the relationships moving forward. So thank you very much for this acknowledgement.
Thank you, Chief Larkin, very much. With that, moving on back to the agenda, review and discuss and approve documents recommended for destruction in accordance with district records retention policy. Chief Cox.
Thanks, President Burke. This is part of the ongoing process of streamlining our records, and the final documents you see in front of you are what we have identified as documents that have fulfilled their lifespan according to the retention record of the district. We're looking for approval to destroy these records as they're no longer legally necessary.
First of all, I have a question, but first of all, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-21-54. Do I have a second?
Second.
Chief Cox, my question is, do we still have that storage room full of paper?
Yeah, no. So we, over the past year, have gone through that entire storage room, and we have inventoried everything that must be kept legally. And that is now housed at a climate-controlled, secure location. And we literally just email, and they bring us the box with the documents the next day to our doorstep and say, here it is. It's a service. It's a data management service for physical documents called Coro Data. So we no longer have the risk of a storage unit getting flooded. It's a common practice among government agencies to have a secure storage that they can call in.
Thank you. Any further questions? Roll call, please, Jean.
Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director McKimmey. Director McKimmey.
He's disappeared for a moment.
All right, we'll go back to him. Vice President Cockrell,
Yes.
President Burke,
Yes. Director McKimmey.
Bruce McKimmey, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Vote on this. Destruction
You
of
need-
records.
Yes.
Okay. Passes 4-0 by roll call.
I think it's notable that now that we've passed that we are a government agency that is destroying paper. Amazing. Moving on to item E, review and discuss and approve updated memorandum of understanding between the Space Launch Delta 30 and Coastside Fire Protection District. Chief Cox.
Thanks, Director Burke. This one is an interesting one. This pertains to the Pillar Point Air Force Station here in the district. We have a current contract with them that has expired. It's, I believe, over 15, 20 years old. They approached us about renewing the contract. They pay an annual fee. What you see in front of you is the negotiated rate of $4,200 a year paid by the Air Force to the district for fire and life safety services, specifically responding to emergencies at Pillar Point.
So there is no number on this? So the motion is to approve an updated memorandum of understanding. That's the motion. Do we have a second?
Second. So MOA, memorandum of agreement?
What was the question, JB?
It says MOA. and a couple
Memorandum of understanding.
Well, that was, okay.
It says agreement on the,
I believe it's a agreement, I believe is what it is.
Yeah, it's titled memorandum of
It's-
agreement.
I'm sorry, that's a piggy pick.
Memorandum of agreement, I'm sorry, you're right, yeah.
No big
Okay.
deal.
Any further questions? Roll call, please, Jean.
Director Cheryl,
Yes,
Director McKimmy,
yes,
Vice President Cockrell,
Yes,
and President Burke.
Yes.
Passes 4-0 by roll
Moving
call.
on to item F, view and discuss and adopt a resolution finding that the meeting of the Board of Directors via teleconferencing protect against the ongoing and imminent health and safety risk posed by COVID-19. Chief Cox.
Thank you. I'm going to deflect this one to Kai for sure.
Deflect, yes, okay. So thank you, Chief, and thank you, Board. This is the next, I guess, the next step in returning to normal, I suppose. As you know, we've been operating under an executive order which suspended portions of the Brown Act, which allowed for us to be meeting by Zoom over the last year and a half now. That authorization under the executive order has ended, and now there is this new law, AB 361, which requires a board like yours to every 30 days consider whether or not there's an ongoing threat of transmission and whether or not that threat necessitates that you continue to meet remotely rather than returning to in person. So this is the first time you'll be asked to consider this. If you approve it tonight, you will be asked again at your next meeting and your next meeting and your next meeting until we get to the point where you're comfortable coming back in person, and then you'll come back in person and we'll go back to normal.
First of all, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2021-52. Do I have a second?
second.
Any discussion? Yeah, I have a question. I guess the way you worded that, Kai, is it up to us to decide when we want to go back? I thought we were kind of by law directed to meet in the Zoom format.
No, so in fact, you could have returned to in-person prior to this point, but the governor let his executive order expire at the end of September. And so what that means is that absent this new piece of legislation, everyone would have had to go back in order to comply with the Brown Act. This legislation basically puts it in the court of every legislative body in the state to make their own determination about whether or not they believe that there is an imminent threat of transmission and that necessitates continuing meeting remotely. So that's sort of the question that you're asked here.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Cynthia, yes. Cynthia,
so if we believe that there is not an imminent danger, what's the vote here?
If you do not believe that there is an imminent threat that necessitates that you continue to meet remotely, then you should vote no on this. And that vote would essentially be to return to full in-person meetings.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
so then this is essentially a negative resolution. If we were to do nothing right now at this meeting, that means the next meeting would be in person. Is that correct, Kai?
That is absolutely correct.
So, okay, if that's the case, I have a substitute.
You have a substitute?
A substitute, that is to take no action on this item.
Right. Well, that's it. You either by majority vote pass this or you don't. And if you don't, then that's the action. We'll return to in-person next month.
so for me,
Go ahead,
every
Bruce.
meeting, we just renew it until we all feel safe. That's my point. So I will be voting yes.
Let me add another piece of it is that, and I think that going forward, when we do get back to in-person meeting, we'll still have to have a Zoom portion of the meeting for the public. And I'm not sure that I don't know that we're technically capable of doing that now, Chief Cox, or we need to prepare for that or how that goes, but
Yeah, we're prepared. We have the technology in the main room now to be able to pull off a virtual hybrid in person.
Cool.
So through the chair, from my understanding, Bruce, you intend then to vote yes on this document that's in front of us. And if we pass it, that means it'll come up again next month
That is correct. That is my understanding.
on another Zoom meeting.
Yes,
Okay,
until we
thank you.
all feel safe.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Thank you, Bruce. No.
Cynthia.
Should any consideration be given to elements that are in addition to whether or not we feel safe in the room? Should there be some consideration that since these board meetings happen in the evening, that members of our group here who have to travel great distances or some distance, I have to walk across the street. So I am the last person to talk about, the inconvenience caused by in-person meetings or Zoom, but it's a consideration. People travel far, they have families, it's late at night. Is there any consideration here that we would like to take for those who don't live across the street from Fire Station 40?
So let me just say one thing about that, technically the Brown Act requires that all of you attend meetings in person, participate in person. The exception being that if you're going to participate remotely, you have to invite the public to come to your remote location as well and participate from that location as well. In terms of convenience for members of the public or even members of staff, you can have an option to have them attend remotely, but this really applies to you as the decision makers on the board. You are, under the Brown Act, you are to be present, you are to engage with the public and to make decisions out in the open in public. This is a temporary fix because we're still in the pandemic, but ultimately the idea is you all need to get back in the same room and make decisions together in the same room.
Thank you.
Let me make a suggestion. I'm sorry, Bruce, did you?
Chief
have
Larkin
another point?
had a statement, I believe, or something.
I didn't hear.
Chief Larkin.
I was just going to ask
Oh.
Kai if in the new requirements, if there was an option for a hybrid type of meeting where you have a portion of the board present and a portion of the board that is remote.
There isn't an explicit option. I will say that in Woodside, which is one of our other clients, they are doing that. And we've taken the position there that, removing even a certain number of people from the room necessarily mitigates some of the potential risk of transmission and also allows people who might be experiencing symptoms or may have had an exposure to still participate in the meeting that they otherwise might not be able to participate in if it was all in person. So out of our office, we've taken the position that you can do hybrid meetings, but you would still have to make the same finding here. It would just be that we want to do hybrid meetings in order to address the risk rather than full remote meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Kai, Ian, did you have another question? Kai, what if we were to adopt this resolution? It's good for 30 days, right?
That's right.
As a suggestion to the board members, if we just adopt this for 30 days and ask the staff and Kai to come back to us with, the top 3 ways we can do this, including A is a hybrid meeting, B is an all, and just give us, the alternatives so that we can pick one of them or none of them. But just have them in front of us in writing as to what the alternatives are. Yes, Bruce.
So in that description,
that?
Kai, I say in that description, Kai, in the room where we have the meetings, the training room, there's a thermometer. I would say that anybody comes into that room for a meeting, be it public, be it board members, have your, check your temperature, maybe have somebody monitor it. I don't know, maybe something to that effect when we decide to go in person.
I think that's a great idea. The one issue will be if somebody refuses to have their temperature taken, I think it's fine to exclude them from the room, but I think you will have to have an option for them to participate in the meeting remotely if you're going to exclude them from the room.
I think you're right. Being able to participate in meetings via Zoom on any public meeting is probably going to be the a key thing in the future. But again, I would just like to ask staff and primarily Kai, just to give us the alternatives. I would suggest we approve this tonight for 30 days, come back with some of the alternatives to look at next week with a little more information as how we do it and vote on it then.
Yeah, okay. I see where we're going with this. And it seems to me the safest and or most conservative approach would be to approve this and look at it again next month. And I somehow I forgot about all the other issues. We're not just doing this for ourselves, we're doing this for everyone who may wish to participate in these meetings. And there's a whole bunch of other issues that we can all watch the news and we find out what's going on. So I think the safest and most conservative approach would be to approve this and possibly revisit it again and approve it again in the future until we can get into a more settled down situation where we're not facing some of the issues I've been reading about, for example, with In-N-Out Burger and some of those other things you see in public. And I don't think we need that kind of friction here on our board.
Kai, make me clarify, make sure I get this right, but if we approve this, this simply says that we're going to have a Zoom meeting in November.
That's correct. Yep. And
That's it. And,
that's right.
and at that meeting, if you would adopt my suggestion, we will have more information as alternatives of what we can do and what not to do. But to do nothing, I think kind of leaves an exposure. Doesn't it leave a vacuum to say, I don't know if we can withdraw it anyway, but to approve it doesn't do anything because we're going to have a Zoom meeting next month anyway. Zero.
Right. If you don't approve it, then we will not have a Zoom meeting next month. We'll meet in person. But
all right, then I have made the motion to adopt resolution 2021-52.
Ian has a statement.
I have a clarifying question for Kai. So our board meeting in November is canceled because that would be the week of Thanksgiving. So we do not meet until December. So you will be greater than 30 days. Does that have any bearing on this motion?
that's actually okay because the way that the law is written is that every 30 days you have to revisit it, but you can also hold a remote meeting for the purpose of determining whether or not you want to hold remote meetings. So that'll be fine.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
So there would still be a meeting in November with one issue, correct, Kai?
Excuse me?
There would still be a meeting in November to vote on this issue.
No, what we're going to do, because you only have the board, you don't have any other legislative bodies in the district. So what we'll do is we will continue to visit this issue every meeting until it's determined we're no longer doing it.
Okay.
So I have made the motion and I'm not sure JB is prepared to address. Okay, it's moved and seconded. Roll call, please, Jean.
Director Sherrill,
Yes.
Director McKimmey,
Yes.
Vice President Cockrell,
Yes.
and President Burke.
Yes.
Passes 4-0
Is
by
there
roll call.
any chance of getting Dr. Fucci at our future meetings?
I'm sure Dr. Fauci would love to come talk to us. He's not busy.
Just a question. I didn't know. Okay, moving on to Board of Directors report. Must be getting late. Finance Committee, the current spreadsheet is in our packet, is available for the public. It is only 3 months, so it's very little total information. We also have for public information a analysis of our PAS fund for the third quarter, and it's available to the public. If any of you would like the detailed report on that, that is available. Also in our packet from a financial point of view, the account for just the month of for PAS report for just the month of September, we lost $125,000 in that account. The balance is still $4,400,000, and our 3-year annual return is 10.24. Other than that, I have no other financial information. JB, you have anything or any questions?
No, that was very good.
Okay, Volunteer Committee,
No report,
Cockrell.
no report.
Land and Structures Committee, Director Cockrell, Director Committee, Kimmy.
Is now the time to talk about new 44, or should I wait?
I think we should wait because you're talking about,
Hey, okay, sorry, hang on.
okay. All right, I take that, that's no report. Vegetation Management Committee, Director Stockman. And he, of course, is not here. And let's see, Director Sherrill, did you have something to add on that item at all?
No, I
No.
just want to commend the staff and Chief Cox for moving everything that we talked about in previous meetings forward. It feels like real progress, and it's taken an enormous amount of work by Chief Cox and the staff to get all of this going forward, and the Vegetation Committee is very appreciative.
Amen. Very excellent job. It's just well done. Special District Association, and I'm going to remove the remainder of that, and myself, and just briefly report that myself and Director Cheryl attended the conference was held in Tahoe here, I guess 2 weeks ago now. And from my point of view, there were a number of items that were discussed there that I found of interest. A couple of items I've forwarded and will forward to Chief Cox that I think might be of value to the board. But it's a great refresher course to see what's, in my case, because I've been to a number of them in the past, to chat with members from other special districts to see what they're doing in various subjects, from holding meetings to how they're handling CalPERS and that type of thing. So it was well worth the time and the effort to attend. Director Sherrill, did you have any comments? Cynthia?
I'm sorry. Chief Burke,
Did you have any comments
okay.
on your attendance? Yeah.
I want to thank you, the board, for the opportunity to attend the conference. I think any new incoming board member, it's really required. There is just not a way to understand the entire breadth of governance of a special district without something like this that takes every element and focuses on the unique aspects of special district governance. So I'm appreciative of the opportunity to go to learn. Of course, meeting colleagues from across the state was very interesting. The presenters were very good. There is a chance to do that conference this coming year on Zoom. So if anybody is interested in that, it's a wealth of information. One of the things that surprised me was it talked about conflict on boards is good. And I thought the opposite. I thought it was good to have more of a unified position on these things, but they emphasized that the discussion should be rigorous and robust, and then at the end of the day, you have to come to consensus and support one another, even if your position was this, but the board decides to do that, then you jump on board. But they emphasize the fact that you are there to make a contribution and you have to do it to your best ability. So that surprised me. Another thing was that no one of us may speak on our own for the board, that it is an absolute, the board has to speak as one. It's not 5 individual people, it is one voice. And I thought that was interesting too. And I'm wondering what happens when districting comes in, because then we're not representing the whole community at one time, we're representing our district. So not sure how that's going to play out, but I'm certainly looking forward to learning about that. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to go, for this rookie, it was highly informational and very worthwhile.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'll also add one other thing. You attend one of these things and you come away with how fortunate the board of the Coastside Fire Protection District is to have such an outstanding staff. I mean, boy, I'll tell you, we are just so darn lucky all the way down. So special thanks to everybody on the staff for the work they do. It compared to some of the other districts, special districts, man, we're light years ahead of all of them. Moving on, item G, FDAC liaison report, no report. Emergency preparedness, Director Stockman, of course, is not here. CERT report, Director Cheryl.
I'll make it short. We had the Great Coastside Shakeout on the 9th. It was a big success. There were 16 coastside neighborhoods plus the pilots group DART and Branch 3 South Skyline CERT SC4 Aries. That's their big ham operation involved. We had 424 people participate in that. It is a coastside-wide radio drill, proving that every neighborhood can communicate with every other neighborhood from the Tom Lantos tunnels down through Pescadero. And it was a success. So again, thank you so much to Coastside Fire Protection District for allowing us to coordinate this through the DOC. They're in the training room. It was something that kind of a unique exercise, and we're very pleased with the outcome. And on November 6th, we'll have our last CERT basic training for the year. We will have between 25 and 30 candidates. They're all finishing their online work now, and we'll have that many new certs starting November 7th. Thank you.
Terrific. Well done. Moving on, attorney's report. Kai? Hello, Kai.
No report for me. Thank you.
No report. Moving on, fire chief report. Chief Cox?
Thank you, President Burke. You can see statistics are in there. We're back up and running with statistics now. The only thing that I am not sure that we'll ever get a good firm grasp on is the cover-ins to North County and to and from the county. And as I've said before, that's really a factor of the new county system that doesn't really recognize districts anymore, but we're working through that. As far as COVID goes, we have had several COVID cases within the district. It has not affected operations. We are working with Department of Emergency Management and the ALS JPA on what a third booster shot looks like for first responders who got the first two. Hopefully we should have more information on that in the next few weeks. Our ALS JPA supervisor, as well as some of our field staff, are participating in the mass vaccination site at the event center in San Mateo for I believe it's Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer now that is taking place. Everyone probably saw the evacuation / emergency mailer that arrived in your mailboxes, or hopefully arrived in your mailboxes. That was a result of one of the actions on the vegetation management plan. That was a heavy lift, but I think helpful, hopefully, for the community to have, and good to have a partner with the media company we did in putting that together and making sure it fit our needs. The other thing you'll see that is in the works is the fire danger rating sign for El Granada. That is ordered and should be installed as soon as it arrives. So we should have a little bit more information to share with the public when there's high fire danger in those communities. Still participating in the countywide fuel reduction task force with Supervisor Horsley and Canepa. Some Measure K funds have been going towards vegetation management. Maybe the most obvious that you'll see is if you go along Highway 35, there's quite a bit of work going on along Skyline at the moment. That work continues. And we have started the process for implementing our new cloud-based pre-plan software that we just hit on last month. This is the software that allows first responders to actually tap into the building department's data for information about each structure. It also allows homeowners to go in and put information that they want the fire department to know on their own parcel or property as well. So that's moving along. Ourselves and Central County Fire are the two first. We're working through with Public Safety Communications at the moment how this links with CAD, the computer-aided dispatch system, because it links up to make sure that the information is going both ways. As we discussed last month, we did the interviews for the relief battalion chief's position. We hope to make an offer on that in any day now. Chief Cosgrave has been working pretty heavily with Department of Emergency Management on the evacuation planning on the coast side, as far as the uniqueness and moving forward with what that looks like. As far as operations are concerned, before the storm came, we had a fire out on the bluffs. You probably saw it was a fairly inaccessible area. Didn't burn much, but was a little bit of a concern for us. During the storm, we ran 39 calls for service in a basically 36-hour period. Huge kudos and thank you to the volunteer firefighters. Many of them came in and were able to relieve the paid crews in taking care of some of the less emergent issues that were out there, such as power lines down and trees down. This training this month has included advanced cardiac life support, ACLS, a paramedic accreditation that's required every year. As far as prevention is concerned, the high number of plans continues, and the fire marshal is still working with county council and Kai and Jean on what the citation process looks like in the fire code for some of the violations that we have in the district. As far as facilities are concerned, the new pump and tank is in at Fire Station 44. If you remember, that was one of our critical needs at the end of last year. That is in. We are working through a defect on one of the parts. They're going to be coming back out to fix, but will be nice to have that tank all buttoned up and not concerned. We do have a plan as well to replace some of the carpeting in the front entryway, just where it's high trafficked, and continue to clean that front area up to make it inviting and professional for what the district is. On the apparatus side, the two new Pierces, Captain Mingstein will be going to do pre-constructions here in the near future. With Pierce to go through every final piece of the drawing of the vehicle. The two battalion chiefs vehicles are inching closer in this supply chain shortage environment. We have them operational sooner than later, but I think we're going on 8+ months on some of the parts that are back ordered. All of our apparatus, heavy apparatus, fire engines, quints, rescues, we're back in service with everything now. So that's good news. We got 44 back. And Chief Cosgrave is working on the procurement process for the volunteer radio grants that we were awarded from the state. Again, we come back to supply chains. The radios we want are not the radios that are available. So we're working on what that looks like moving forward for what we need. With that, I know everyone should have got the invitation yesterday on the board of directors event tomorrow morning for Chief Larkin starts at 9 o'clock. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Larkin, did you have anything to add?
Nope,
Chief
I don't have
Larkin.
anything to add. I think Chief Cox covered it all. I can just report on the state mission side of the house for CAL FIRE. We are still in fire season, even though we received a significant amount of rain. We continue to maintain our staffing levels as appropriate as for fire season, with the caveat that we do have some firefighters that we do need to lay off just because they're timing out for their season, but we will maintain staffing and we have Blue Book staffing until December 31st. So we're going to do our best to maintain that staffing with available personnel, but as we continue through. So until we get some additional rain, we're really not comfortable with reducing our staffing on the state side. So that's all I had to add. Thank you.
Okay. Chief Armstrong, did you wish to add anything?
No, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity, but I'll stay relatively quiet this month. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'd just like to add, I hope the members of the board and the public had a chance to see the interview that Chief Cox did with the Half Moon Bay Review on wildfire and various things. Just was an outstanding interview and just great information.
It was.
Compliments to the chief for something well done.
Well done.
Yeah. Any other comments by any members?
I just want to make a comment. I looked at the personnel and I continue to be amazed at the stability of the staffing. For this whole report, we've had one person leave the district. That suggests a very high morale, and that's usually caused by the leadership. So thanks again, Chief Cox and Chief Larkin, and hope Chief Armstrong going forward. That suggests to me you have happy employees who are in no hurry to leave. Thank you so much.
Good point. Thank you, JB. With that, without objection, the regular meeting of the board will be adjourned, and the board will go into closed session, a conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation under appropriate government codes. Thank you all.
Through the chair, may I speak
Yeah.
to Kai Reese?